Whoops. I forgot. I wasn't paying attention to the countdown. The countdown went out, and here we are, guys. And I forgot the little opening thing. So welcome to Outlaws.
We are really prepared on this story, though. I've been geeking out all day yesterday. It's just super, super fascinating. I'm Rebecca Hargraves. This is Outlaws.
And I'm Devon Sack. Also, this is still Outlaws. So this is Outlaws, the warrior gene. We're going to be talking about the warrior gene. So what is the warrior gene?
Right. Okay. I'm going to get a little science-y. I kind of geek out about these things, and then I don't realize that the audience is really bored. So you might have to interject sometimes and be like, no one knows what the fuck you're talking about, because
right.
I'm a hobbyist geneticist. Like, I really like this stuff. I think it's really, really interesting. But MAOA, it is this gene. It's on the X chromosome, and it produces an enzyme that breaks down those feel-good chemicals. So we're talking serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine. So low activity. This is kind of counterintuitive. Low activity. If you have like 2 repetitions of the gene, it means it's operating at its least efficient level. And so you have all of this leftover, all the leftover neurotransmitters, and they take a longer time to get out of your body. So it has been discovered that people with the lowest repetitions, 2R and 3R, have a much higher susceptibility to, particularly to violent crime. They have impulse control problems. We'll talk about race in a little bit. It's what you guys expect. But because they have these increased positive associations with violence and stress response. So that in a nutshell is the warrior gene. It's actually very common, but what is common is the mini repetition. So like 3R and 4R, which means that it's operating almost normally. I think that's like a third of white men. It's like 60% of Chinese. It's super common, and there's not a lot of robust evidence that in and of itself increases violent crime on a mass level. There's some evidence, but there's some environmental impact on the gene as well.
So in other words, if you have this gene expression, then you have the ability to regulate your hormones a little bit better when it comes to dealing with stressful situations, confrontation, this sort of a thing. And if you have, I guess, a lower instance of this gene, then you regulate serotonin and other chemicals in your body so that you're basically chill and able to react normally to conflict, violence, stress, and that sort of thing, right?
That's true, but there's some positive externalities with the warrior gene. Like, you're going to see an increased instance of people that are 2R and 3R and 4R in things like surgery, police, Green Berets, and everything like that, because they're people that work well under pressure and do well in a last minute sprint because they respond positively to stress. I was actually thinking you probably have this gene just based on your work style.
That's possible. It is possible. So you're saying that it's people that thrive on risk.
Yes.
Like thrill seekers would probably have this.
Yes, because it makes them feel good. It makes them feel alive. It makes them feel positive about life and all of these associations. So, I mean, it's not all a bad thing. Like, we do need people that are 3R and 4R in our society in a substantial number, but we don't need these 2Rs. They should just be culled. We should cull them.
Right. And so there's how is this gene discovered? Because this is a relatively new discovery, right?
Yes. So this was discovered in the 90s. There was this Dutch family, and the men in this family were just insane. They were raping the women in the family. 2 of them burned down separate houses. There were murders. It was just horrible aggression. They had mild intellectual disability, which they're calling IQ 85, which is really funny because that's the standard IQ of the Black American. But in the Netherlands, that means they're basically retarded. And so
Well, everywhere
and
that
so
means you're basically retarded, but
yeah.
yes.
Yeah. And so all the chicks in this family were like, all right, we want to figure out what's going on. We want to do some genetic studies on this family, on the extended family. So they looked at 14 men in the family, and they discovered that they had truncated, totally non-functional MAOA. Now, what this means on them, for them, is that this is extremely rare. This particular mutation, it's called a knockout. So it's most like the 2R, but it is an absolute knockout of MAOA inhibitor. So they have no ability to metabolize those neurotransmitters properly. So this is like a more extreme example, but it did get the science going. Like, is there a genetic trait for impulsivity, for violence, especially sexual violence? And that's what they discovered with this family. So I think there have been a total of 23 or something families that have this knockout gene, and all the men, because it's it's X-linked. So all the men that have the knockout gene are invariably, they are criminal.
So, in other words, this particular family, if you have this extreme version of it, you can't metabolize. I mean, if you get serotonin or any of this stuff dumped into your system, which happens when you're under stress, it just keeps floating around and
Yes. Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Native Americans actually they lack the ability to break down alcohol.
Metabolize alcohol. Right.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
So they just
It's a lot like that. Yeah.
Okay. So they get drunker faster and stay drunker longer. So it's kind of
Yep.
like they see red and get enraged faster and stay enraged longer.
Yeah. 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 So for 3R, that's the number of repetitions. That's a third of people in European ancestry, 3R and 4R. It's 60% of Black men. And the rare 2R, the one that I was just talking to you about, that not the knockout gene, but that confers the highest risk of violence outside of the very rare phenotype, it's 0.1% for Caucasians. It's 0.005% for Asians. Guess how high it is for Blacks?
Well, I already know, but
It's
five,
shocking. It's
uh,
5.5% of Black people have this.
so it's 5 times the rate of white people.
No, it's 0.1%.
Oh, point.
For
We're
Caucasian.
point. Oh, I thought you said one. Oh, point. Okay, so it's 50 times.
Yeah.
55 times.
55 times. It's 55 times higher. Yeah. And with their genetic factors and their low IQ, I think that this can basically explain Black
Chimpaks.
criminality. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So, like when they get pulled over on the body cam footage and they just start running from the cops and get shot, that's basically that inability to deal with that high stress situation, or rather, they're getting off on it and wanting to.
Yes.
Their dopamine is basically not getting metabolized and worked down.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
When you were doing research on this, did you see a lot of things that were like, this does not support genetic determinism. This
Oh, yeah.
is not. Oh, it was so annoying, and so
We'll get into that in the video.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? You have a video?
Yeah. Well, with I clipped that National Geographic video down to a lot of different clips where they definitely make those. They repeatedly mention that. In fact, the whole point of that video, as people will see, is basically to because they can't just ignore this science. This is it's out there now. And so the point of the video wasn't to educate people about this new science. It was to basically reframe the new science to fit in the old worldview that they want to maintain.
Oh, yeah. And there's metadata out there that supports that there is a much higher level, at least 2 times, some of them with much higher rates of serious violent delinquency compared to even people of other lesser variants, not even a control set without the variants. So people that are 2R, like these 5.5% of Black people that are 2R, over 50% of them have been incarcerated for a violent crime.
Right. And the other thing,
who knows how the crime that they've committed.
well, the other thing to keep in mind too is this is just one gene expression, and
Mm-hmm.
among trillions, right? So
Yeah.
just because we found one that explains part of the behavior doesn't mean it's not part of a cocktail of several other gene expressions that we haven't discovered yet that actually kind of explain black behavior overall. Because like you
Mm-hmm.
were saying, we do want a little bit of this in the white populations, and a little bit of that. Absent perhaps some of the other ingredients that are present in black bodies, as they say,
Yep.
might actually make it even less of a problem in white populations,
Mm-hmm.
because you could have interactions between different genetic realities between blacks and whites that would create different outcomes. Just this is just one little thing. It's kind of like when we talk about how IQ is important, but it's not a very good measurement. It's just a measurement that is well studied enough to where we can point to it, but it doesn't explain the overall picture when it comes to how your brain works, or what you're going to even be good at. It's just one way of saying it's measuring pattern recognition to some extent.
Yeah.
And so you can say, this, at least to some degree, we can find correlations between IQ and outcomes, but there's lots of other aspects of the brain that we don't understand. And likewise, this is just one piece of a much larger puzzle, but it's an important piece.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they really want to point to this environmental influence as though it's super important. But if you look to the episode that we did about the Jewish twin studies, heritability for behavior is extremely high. Like, what we can prove is that antisocial phenotypes have at least a 50% genetic influence. And that's from very good, very robust twin studies. And shared environment is 10 to 20%, and non-shared environment is 30 to 40%. And a lot of those things are also genetic. The way you raise your kids, the people that you allow your children to be around, these decisions, these parenting decisions are also based in genetics. So it's true that probably, I would estimate, in my layman's estimation, my layperson's estimation, that it's probably 90% heritable.
Right. No, and that's the thing, is when they talk about environment. And one thing I noticed in researching this, they like to reiterate over and over and over again that this warrior gene is activated mostly if they had a rough childhood. Did you come across that, where they kept trying
Yeah,
to
constantly.
they kept trying to act as if it was like this, landmine that was totally had no problem at all unless you were raised by shitty parents, and then it would explode and turn you into a monster. And like, so they're still trying to say, oh, it's environment, it's environment, it's environment. But as you said, the way you raise your kids is also informed by genes. It's biological. Just like cultures are a product of the biology of the people, parenting styles are a biological product of the parents. And
Yeah.
so, and even if you were to, I guess if you were to kidnap all the black people and force white people to raise them, you would probably have a better outcome than black kids raised by black parents, but not to it would not enough to where it would alter their genes. They would still
Yeah.
have the same genetic issues, including
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Absolutely. Can I geek out about this question I asked Grok, or am I stepping on your clips here? They're all
No,
at the
go for it.
bottom. Okay, so I was thinking today, I was doing this mind experiment. As we move in a linear fashion towards a higher population of Black people, although their fertility is lower. So this is purely in the realm of theory. What would happen to our institutions, and what would happen to the cost of all of the extra crime? And this excludes all emotional outcomes that happen when somebody's murdered, raped, robbed, and otherwise. So if you apply the 2R allele, which is 5.5% of the Black population, if the entire population was Black in America, 50% of the men would have a probability of shooting or stabbing someone. And the odds ratio for extreme violence is 12 to 13 times. So what Grok told me is that this is incredible. So because you have a per murder or manslaughter cost to the state of 8 to 9 million, robbery it's about 200 to 370,000. Then on a national level, in homicides alone, there would be a 40 to 100 billion dollar homicide specific cost. Broader violent crimes would be 100 to 300 billion dollars, and the 55-fold prevalence gap, that's how many times it is versus the Caucasian population. This would contribute to hundreds of billions of dollars in economic burden. So the economic burden is the criminal justice system, so incarceration, policing, court burdens, appeals process, things like that. And these were all conservative measures. I made sure that they did like the most conservative. Then you have victim cost and healthcare from stabbings and shootings, long-term disability, trauma services. Then you have economic ripple effect, which is people out of the workforce, property values, insurance, white flight, and lost GDP. And then you have school problems, child welfare. And then you get into this death spiral of environment, because as the environment gets worse, there's more criminality, although I think it's a smaller percentage than they claim. Yeah. And so we're talking hundreds of billions. If this were non-conservative, this might be like $1 trillion. And that's if the entire population is Black. But if we move in a linear manner towards a larger percentage of Black people in the population, then wouldn't we just be moving along that curve and incurring these costs stepwise? I don't see why we wouldn't. I mean, the population that's 2R is stable at 5.5% in the Black population.
Well, let me ask you this too. Does the warrior gene, I don't know if there's any research on this, does the warrior gene maybe also have something to do with fertility? Like I'm assuming these people are going to be R selected, where they're going to just be spray and pray when it comes to spreading that gene around. So
yeah, I didn't look into that, but RK selection theory I've heard that it's largely been debunked, but because women want to have sex more with men with higher risk tolerances and that have violent natures because women are retarded, then I would imagine that they just naturally have higher fertility rates. And they have low impulse control, so they're fucking more people.
And do we also know the difference? Because I think the data that we have as far as the warrior gene in Black people, that's like American Blacks and not necessarily Blacks in Africa.
I was thinking about that. If we imported Blacks from Africa, we would still have a disproportionate 2R, but there would be selection bias. So they probably would be people that were not they didn't have the warrior gene.
You don't think the warrior gene is more prevalent in Blacks that don't have the European admixture?
Well, that's a good question. It probably would be more prevalent, but if they were coming to America, like in my hypothetical situation, then there would be selection bias.
Right, yeah. Right. But I think if you were to test, what I'm getting at is if you were to test the continent of Africa, that number would probably be larger than 5.5%, right?
I don't know. Now I have to look that up. You're scratching an itch here.
I don't know if the other thing I noticed too is there wasn't a lot of data on Hispanic populations.
Yeah, there wasn't.
And
there was
I would
a
think
lot on Asians though. I'm like, who cares?
Yeah. But I thought with the Hispanics, like they would be pretty high too, with all that fucking Aztec blood in them. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I felt like it. I mean, I guarantee. Well, I can't guarantee, but I would assume it would be higher than whites for sure.
All right, I'm gonna ask Grok really quick. Keep going.
Well, so there is we'll get into that in a minute, but there is an opposite gene expression.
Yes.
That goes with this as well.
Yes. So if you have basically genetically the total inverse of 2R, then you have COMT, which is the gene that degrades dopamine in the prefrontal cortex, which is executive function. And they call this the worrier gene, which I thought was, kind of cute. So they have higher dopamine, better focus and memory and calm settings, but extreme anxiety under stress. And there are some negative externalities to this as well. Like it causes OCD. depression, anxiety, things like that. However, these people are excellent future planners. And I think that this is really high in the European population. So if you have a society built on the warrior gene or the worrier gene, like every time you're going to want to choose the worrier gene. That being said, you have to have total bloodthirsty psychos in your population. You have to. You need them in small confined settings where they have good impulse control, and there are all these barriers around them to help them control their emotions and their levels of serotonin and things like that. But in the right setting, these people, especially white warrior carriers, they're highly, highly prized and functional. I mean, those are all of our Navy SEALs. I bet if you looked at them, they would probably be like 80% 2R or 3R.
Well, right, and like I said, there's probably a cocktail of genetics going on with the white people as well that might counteract some of the negative effects that you see in the black populations when they have the warrior gene. But and you want to live. And I think the big problem that we're experiencing right now is we have societies that were built for a specific, to oversimplify it, a population that has more warrior genes than warrior genes. And unfortunately, the demographics are shifting to a population that has more warrior genes than warrior genes.
So it looks like no data has been collected on Africans for the 2R variation, but the 5.5 is African American. So you were right that the European admixture, I bet it is, it's probably like 7 or 8% in Africa.
Right. Yeah, I guarantee the European admixture is diluting that somewhat.
Yep.
And then also there's no data on Arabs most likely, but I would assume Arabs with their
higher,
their Allah Akbar genes, there's got to be some of that shit in there, and so, but yeah, that's it. Now I think part of this too was probably impacted by well, first of all, the Europeans were very liberal with the death penalty for centuries. And so the people that might have had the warrior gene, I mean, for all we know, we might have even been on par with or closer to Africans, and in terms of that gene expression. But after centuries and centuries of executing everyone that expressed bad behavior, we kind of weeded that out of the gene pool. And then not only that, follow that with a couple world wars, and we're not gonna have as many instances of that. And there's good and bad with that, like you said. For these societies built for and by these warrior genes, you need those warrior genes in order to enforce and protect that society.
Yeah, and absolutely.
I kind of feel like maybe we weeded it out too much.
Right. I mean, from what I've read, 2Rs in the Caucasian population are generally highly successful. They don't have the rates of criminality that the black population does because they don't have the low average IQ. So they're able to control their impulses more positively and put them into really high pressure careers, especially that deal with like recuperating sick people. Like hospital work is really high in 2R variant. So is military work. So white people are able to adapt. Psychopaths also do really well in white populations.
As CEOs and high performing areas because they have that high. But I'll tell you what, one thing that correlates with high IQ is empathy, though, too.
Yes. Yeah.
So you kind of have that evening out the I guess the results of this gene expression in the white population.
Yep. Absolutely.
So do you want to talk more about the? Let's see here. What you got here is the.
Did I geek out too much? Are you guys bored?
I'm not bored.
On the edge of their seats with this one. No, I think that's it as far as the background. It's like, I don't want to get much more sciencey than that, but I am fascinated because this was just discovered, 30 years ago. What is undiscovered? Because it's not like all of this lies on a single gene. Like I've heard genes described as a cobweb, and there are genes that influence other genes, and there are genes that only express in certain situations, and environment seems to be some kind of factor. Like, we don't really know that much about genetics, like enough to make serious decisions. But we do know that genetics perhaps predominantly influences and dictates behavior. So we can't just ignore that because we want to be in control of our own lives and stuff. It's like, if you're white and you're high IQ, then you can overcome your baser impulses. I don't want to let Black people off the hook here, though. Like, they could do better. Like, you could do better.
Well, and here's the bottom line too. I don't want this, and we'll see it in the clips, that this is exactly what they're doing. We don't want this to be used as an excuse for bad behavior. That we shouldn't have to pay the price because your population is genetically predisposed to violence. The answer isn't, therefore, we need to redesign our entire society to accommodate you.
Right.
Like the solution is, then get the fuck out so that we can deal with our own problems, and you guys can work out your warrior gene out in Africa.
Exactly.
And,
like, that should be the conclusion, is that they're fundamentally on a cellular level different, and that is what is causing the behavioral differences. So it's not like, well, it's not a question of morality. And that's the good thing about genetics. And this is why I like JF still, because you don't have to address the moral issue. You can ignore the entire thing if you're like, these people are different, and their differences make them fundamentally incompatible with the society that we've built. So they just can't be here. Like, like, they can't be here. It's not a question of morality. It's just that they're too different.
Right. No, and that is the problem. It's a compatibility issue. As I was tell my friends that always wanted me to start using Linux, I'd be like, I would, but like all my Windows software wouldn't work great. Oh, just use Wine or use this. I'd be like, oh, fuck you guys. Like, it doesn't work. Okay. It's a compatibility issue.
Come on. It just doesn't work. Yeah. Oh God. I just saw this comment that made me furious. Okay. Evil doer, you idiot. Says culture is a large part of it. Good culture can temper the IQ genes. No, it can't, because culture is a product of genetics. You're not going to create a culture that's going to override somebody's most fundamental biological genetic code. It's, you're asking a leopard to not be a leopard. These are who these people are. This is fundamental to the culture they create. And when they come here, they don't just adopt our culture. We're not going to make them better, smarter. We're not going to make them less violent. This is who they are.
Their hardware
that's so
is
stupid. What year
incompatible.
Is it?
Right. This is like 2016 stuff, guys. Their hardware is incompatible with our software. You can try to install it, and maybe and if you do a bunch of hacks and you spend like all your time spinning your wheels trying to get it to work, it'll sort of work. But it's not worth your time. In the meantime, you're going extinct. So it's like, why are you even working on this project when you should be working to make sure your people don't go extinct? Let them worry about their own problems. So that's the biggest issue here, is even if there was a way to fix it, it's not incumbent on us to handle that when we have a much, much more pressing issue, which is our survival as a people.
Yes, exactly.
So the National do you want me to go into the clips here?
Yeah, that'd be great.
So National Geographic, in response, I guess, to this science becoming more well-known, did a special talking about this. And as I said before, it's not like they were doing it to start the kinds of conversations that we're having right now, and so that you would change your worldview and realize, oh, wait, hold on. So blacks are actually biologically different to a degree where it's impossible for them to succeed in our societies. Like, that's not the conversation they want you to have. And so the entire piece, while they try to be accurate about the science, it's surrounded by all this Jewish nonsense that tries to basically force this square peg into a round hole, because it flies in the face of everything that they've been telling us since the turn of the century, when the Anglo-Saxons in America were first bringing up these kinds of studies. Obviously, they didn't have the technology to identify genes and this sort of a thing, but the eugenicists around the turn of the century were talking about exactly this, saying that criminality was heritable and that you had these families of criminals, or maybe we should sterilize them, and maybe we shouldn't give them welfare and so they could have more kids, because we're basically just spreading their disease and making our gene pool dirtier. And yes, this is exactly what Hitler borrowed when he was looking into building his society in Nazi Germany, which is exactly why this is forbidden science now, and exactly why it was buried, even though while this particular discovery is relatively new, late 70s, early 80s, as far as this being something that was understood among all white people, that was like since the beginning of time. People saying that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and oh, he married really well and stuff like this. Like, this was all common sense. People understood that genetics produced. Your offspring was a product of the parents. I mean, ever since animal husbandry. As soon as we started domesticating animals. When did we first have our first domesticated dogs? That's when white people figured that shit out, is when they were breeding like the nicest wolves together to make like a fluffy Pomeranian. It's like,
how have we regressed so much? It's incredible.
Yeah, it's bizarre that people can't. Well, maybe if we just give Pomeranian culture to the wolves, they'll stop being wolves. I mean, listen to yourself, man. Like, that's basically what people are doing. They're like, we just get a wolf and put a fucking sombrero on him. He'll be like, quiero Taco Bell. It's like, give me a fucking break. This isn't what it is. We're talking about tens of thousands of years of isolated breeding that created this kind of outcome. So when this thing opens up, it opens up right away, and you think it's going to be based because of how they open it up, but it rapidly deteriorates into nonsense. So this is the opening to the Nat Geo thing here. Oh, whoop. We should probably go to the screen where you can see it too, huh? Bum, 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 bum. There we are. All right. So here we go.
Are some people born to be violent?
They're called niggers.
An extraordinary discovery suggests they are.
Everywhere you look, it's niggers, niggers, niggers.
A single gene has been directly associated with violent behavior.
What's the DNA? Where did you come from? How'd they get my DNA?
The African genes are very strong.
This controversial science has ignited debate over genetic screening and eugenics.
This is not a debate.
This is what needs to happen.
Segregation today.
Segregation tomorrow. Segregation forever.
Wow, Nat Geo, totally based.
Yeah. So Nat Geo is like, oh, we discovered this gene, and it shows like all these black people rioting. Perhaps the gene has something to do with their behavior. More black people rioting. And so I'm like, oh, damn, this is going to be pretty good. I wouldn't have expected this. This is, I think, aired in 2016 or something like that. And I'm like, God damn, this is pretty crazy. And then they get to the example that they're going to use of American culture that's very violent. I'm like, oh, well, clearly, after showing us all these clips of black people rioting, they're going to talk about black people or something, right? Especially given the fact that black people are 50 times more likely to have this gene expression. So they have, that's like that should be the subject matter. That should be like one of the biggest points of this video, is to say, hey, like this group that commits 50% of the murders and violent crime, and they have this gene. So then they get to their example of violence in America.
In the 1980s, a youth rebellion was brewing.
You can't be serious.
The American punk revolution was shocking, not just for the angry music, but also for the violence it inspired.
People who talk about punk rock, you're just avoiding the obvious, you guys.
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
The retards, the killers, the niggers.
So yeah, it's white people. Apparently, white punk rockers from the 1980s is the example they went with when it comes to violence in America and the people that might have the warrior gene. It's going to be all the white punk rockers in the 1980s. So, of course, they went to this white punk rocker from the 1980s, Henry Rollins, and they're like, "Oh, Henry Rollins, you might have the warrior gene, and that could explain why you are such an angry guy. You're totally angry. It's the environment that's causing this too."
For well over a century, the debate has raged over whether humans are shaped by their environment.
That's so stupid.
Or their genes.
Ding, 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 ding.
Are we products of the world we are born into, or does Mother Nature make us who we are?
Isn't that kind of the same thing?
Yeah, it's the same thing. So the whole argument, as we said before, the debate is stupid. The idea that there's been this big debate, and there hasn't been a big debate. There's been Jewish sociologists telling us that it's environment, and whereas all of the anecdotal evidence from before we had the science to the science has told us the exact opposite.
Yes,
that it is nature. So that they're already kind of setting it up like, oh well, before the scientific consensus. I like that too. They love to use that term. The scientific consensus was that it was nature, and the reason why, and they'll tell you this. In fact, they even say it. The reason why they wanted it to be nature is nurture rather, is you can engineer nurture. You can fix nurture. You can do like that guy in the chat said, and you can just give them our culture, and they become white people. And that's what the boomers have tried to do with the civil rights movement and with affirmative action. Like that's what all these things were supposed to do. You were supposed to be able to give black people the same opportunities as whites, and they would magically turn into white people and start behaving like white people. This is unfortunately what a lot of Christians try to do. They think if they convert anyone to Christianity, they magically become like them. And,
yes.
And that's what the original colonists, even when they first encountered the Native Americans, tried to do, is convert them to Christianity to, like, we'll make them into white people. And then, after 50 of them get scalped, they're like, maybe this was a bad idea. And this is just something that's been ongoing for a long time. It's not really a debate. It's just something that it requires constant propaganda for people to even think this. But I think it's because white people are optimistic too. They want to believe this because if you can't fix it with culture, well, the solutions aren't very pretty,
Mm-hmm.
Like it's one thing to say, oh, well, all we have to do is throw money at black schools, and all we have to do is have after school basketball programs or whatever, and suddenly this problem goes away. But if you know that that's bullshit, if you know that no matter how much money you throw down the drain, because that's what you're doing, and no matter how many basketballs you throw at black people, I mean, you're going to have the same problem. And it's true. We have the same exact problem with black people that we had decades and decades and decades ago. At a certain point, you have to think about other solutions. And
yeah, but so that should be reassuring too, because as soon as you realize that they're incompatible with our current population and you don't want to integrate them anymore, then you have no ongoing costs. You don't have future costs. You have a one-time cost of segregation or, getting them out of the country. A large one-time cost.
Right.
It's like, and then you don't have to do any of this shit anymore. You don't have to do intercity busing. You don't have to do any of these programs. You don't have to do Boys and Girls Club or whatever. You don't have to do any of this stuff.
It's just done. It's just done.
It's done. Yeah.
And here's the thing I would say too, because there's a lot of, I've gotten to like arguments with boomers about this where they're like, well, it's just going to take more time. And it's like, well, how much more time? Can you tell me? Is it in 50 years will black people be on par with whites when it comes to outcomes? 100 years? 50,000 years? I mean, at what point? And if you can't tell me how long it's going to take, then you're essentially damning all of your descendants to a hell that is not worth living because there's no end in sight.
Right. And then if you're going to allow more time, how much more time are you going to allow? Are we going to have a date where we're like, if not fully integrated into white society, then we do something about it? By the way, did you know Henry Rollins is Jewish?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all.
His father is Paul Garfield. His mother's Irish. So it's like the worst possible admixture.
Oh, great. He's I was trying to think of what's a good one. He's like a dreidel Mick. Does that work? McDreidel. Patty McDreidel. So we got Patty McDreidel over here.
He's not as ugly as I would have expected. My Judar didn't go off.
No, he's got crazy eyes though. He definitely has crazy eyes.
That's true.
But that's the thing is like if there's no end in sight, having to do this forever it's just stupid. And that's the thing too is if there was like a deadline, I'd actually support it because I would know the outcome. If we said, okay, we will keep trying to make blacks integrate, but if by 2040 it hasn't happened yet, we kick them all out to Africa, I'd be like, sweet. I'd start investing in property in Africa because I knew in 2040 there'd be a whole lot of need for new homes out there. So. Yep. It's insane. It's basically insane that's even a thing. Yep. So they talk about the scientific consensus, and then of course they say, well, actually though, now we're having these disturbing new revelations saying that maybe it's not quite what we thought.
Until recently, the scientific consensus leaned toward nurture.
Gee, I wonder why.
Jewish scientist. Ding, 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 ding.
It's our upbringing and environment that determines our behavior. And as a society, it's something we can try to put right.
Well, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. Unfortunately, it does not. And so, it's something that's the reason why that sounds like an appealing thing to think about is it's something that they can fix. It's something we can engineer. We can socially engineer blacks into white people. And when in reality, the opposite is what's happened. We've lowered white people. We've Negrofied white people.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, look at Zoomers for fuck's sake. Yeah. So we've Negrofied white people because we can't elevate blacks. Then the only way to reach an equilibrium is to pull down whites.
Yeah.
So, in fact, there was that study I did a stream on about the that stupid couple that thought that if they raised a chimpanzee alongside their kid, that it would like learn English and like start, it'd be like a human. And all it did is it made their kid retarded. So, no, it did. I forget the name of the stream. It's a stream I did a couple years ago, but where these stupid sociologists, they got a baby chimpanzee, and raised it in a crib right alongside their human baby, thinking like, oh, look, little Billy's learning how to, here comes the airplane, and the chimpanzee would just go, and they'd be like, what's going on? I don't understand. Why is this not working? And then their kid was retarded by the end of it.
That's so stupid. That's stupid. Why would you do that? That's retarded.
No, but that's exactly what's happening to our society right now is we're like, we'll get these blacks to, oh shit, the white people are calling each other nigga and listening to fucking Kanye now. So, it's same exact shit. All right. So then, after the science shows that, obviously this is fucking bullshit.
The discovery of the warrior gene suggests that nature has a far bigger influence on our behavior than we'd ever imagine.
So that's your conclusion?
Yeah.
For God's sakes.
Yeah. So they're now, okay, we have this warrior gene we now have to contend with. They bring in this guy, Bill Burnett, who I don't think is Jewish, but he might as well be. You'll see, especially towards the end. And he says, well, this gene, and look, I agree with this part of it. He says this gene doesn't determine your behavior, but it influences it. And it's like, well, you're right. The cumulative, all of your genes determine your behavior, but if it's like, just like a drop of vanilla extract doesn't determine the flavor of a dish, but it influences it certainly. And if that's the only thing in it, then it's going to taste like vanilla water or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you have a bunch of other shit in there, you'll still be able to taste the vanilla, but it's not going to be the only thing. So but they try to hammer that, and then they talk about Henry Rollins, the Jew apparently, and it's kind of funny because they try to make it sound like, well, Henry Rollins, because of 80s punk rock, he probably has the warrior gene. And we're going to talk about what an example of when he was, because that's the other thing too. The component that they talked about a lot was childhood adversity would unlock the warrior gene or something like that.
Right.
And so they're like, oh, like there was this example from his childhood where he was bullied, and so it unlocked his warrior gene maybe. And the story he tells is kind of hilarious because
I remember at one point I was surrounded by kids right here.
They're all
black.
So the story is he's surrounded by black kids who beat him up while calling him Whitey. Like, that's the actual story.
Yeah.
And if the way they describe the story, it's obvious he doesn't have the warrior gene because he's not reacting with rage. He's getting picked on because he isn't violent. And
exactly.
the kid's picking on him.
He talks about how everybody thought he was a pussy, and that's why. Yeah.
He's a pussy because, in fact, they would say, you won't fight. Like, I forget the rhyme, but they said, won't fight because you're white. You whites can't fight. And it's like, what is it with black people and rhyming, by the way? Like, do they have like a rhyming gene too? So, but so they harass him, and one day he does what I think the word. In fact, I tried to find research on this. There wasn't, but I did get Grok to opine on it, and that my theory was that white people with the warrior gene, because they internalize the stress and they don't deal with the stress, that it builds and builds until they go school shooter mode. And that's how white people generally act as societies, you could say, too, where there's like a high tolerance. They take it and take it and take it until one day they kind of explode. And
yes.
I couldn't find any data that actually backed that up, but it kind of was, it fell like it, anecdotally fell in line with kind of the warrior gene, where warriors, the way that they deal with stress is they internalize it, and then they have, because of this, they incur more abuse, which they internalize more of it. It becomes like this vicious cycle. But then the warrior, what do? They start planning. They start drawing maps of the school, in their notebook, and they start buying guns,
working out.
Yeah. And the next thing you know, so that. It's funny because there was a similar situation here where you had the blacks who, at least statistically speaking, had a much higher probability of having the warrior gene, who were getting off on tormenting the kid. And then the kid took it forever until one day he flips out and punches one of the black kids and beats him up, and then they leave him alone or whatever. And so it's kind of funny that they use that as an example, like, oh, maybe he's got the warrior gene. Their next example actually made a lot more sense when it comes to the warrior gene. And this is why I wanted the data on the Mexicans too, because it's these two Mexicans that lived in East LA, the Mexican gangster. Well, now that's most of LA, but like during the 90s, it was, it wasn't as bad. And they were like little thugs, like they were 10 years old and beating people up and involved in shootings and stuff like this. And it's kind of funny because they interview these two Mexican gangsters who they are going to later test. That's the whole premise of this video. We're going to test to see who has the warrior gene. Does Henry Rollins have the warrior gene? Because he's kind of a badass, 80s punk. And, do the Mexicans have the warrior gene? Well, the results might surprise everyone. And so they interview these guys who had a criminal past, and they ask the Mexicans, like, well, do you think this is genetic? Like, they know what that means, right? First of all.
Yeah.
and they're like, well, no, ese, because, like, everyone I hung out with was like this, too. And I'm just like, wait, so you're not putting that together?
I think aggression and violence is a learned behavior. In the house that I was raised in, the gang life was around us all the time.
Why?
Yeah, exactly. The house that you were raised in with the other Mexicans.
Yeah.
the biologically similar Mexicans, like they had the same behavior as you do. So it must be learned.
Which is clearly genetic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So
because your mom banged some cholo gangbanger. And like, what do you think? Because she had genetic issues too, and she had a choosing problem, which is genetic.
Do cholos still have like the socks up to the knees and they only do the top button, or is that like old school now?
I don't know. I mean, when I was living in LA, they did, but that was in 2014.
Do you remember Little Homies? Did you ever see those in the vending machines? Little Homies. So
what were they?
Like, you know, those vending machines outside of grocery stores, you put a quarter in it, some shit toy comes out of it, like a little capsule. They had these. It was literally, they were called Little Homies. They were little Mexican gangsters, but there was like 100 different kinds. And so and they all had names. Like my friends used to collect them. Like they'd be like Hector the stoner or whatever, right? And so it was like kind of a spin-off of, I guess, Speedy Gonzalez. Only they were like people. Well, I mean, you know, to the extent the Mexicans are people. And so they had like these different homies basically. But apparently now they're worth something. Because I was curious the other day, I was like, Little Homies, man, is that still? I looked up, and they're like on eBay. You can buy like this guy's collection of Little Homies for like $10,000 or some stupid. I guess they're like Beanie Babies for Mexicans now or something. But
who's buying that?
I don't know. Someone is. But yeah, so but they dress like that is why I was wondering. I was like, because these guys, all five of these guys could be a different kind of little homie. So anyway. Only me, I guess.
We got Jorge, the littlest little homie over there.
Oh, yeah, that little homie, little un poquito homie right there. And we got so this is Han Brunner. This was the Dutch scientist that I think made the discovery of the warrior genes. They interview him, and he basically talks about the science of it, talks about the background. Of course, they like the fact that it was a Dutch family that sparked this whole study, and not like a family of rabid nigs, as if they would be worth any research. You know, it's like, sorry that like the nig doctor didn't figure it out. You know, like it was the Dutch guy. So obviously it's going to be white people. So they interview him and talk about that, and then they have the next group of people that they're like, oh, what if we test these fighters? Like, these are all like MMA fighters. You think they have the warrior gene? And honestly, my first thought was probably not, because they are going to the gym and, they're planning. Like, it takes planning to be a professional athlete, right? Because that's, they're not going around like robbing banks and raping people and committing crimes. They're actually, they're in a productive way, using their aggression, and these aren't like prison fighters. These are people that fight as a form of sport.
Yes, but it still should be higher, because there's selection bias for white people in sports like these, because they recognize that they have violent tendencies and they want to channel them positively. So I would expect these guys to have a higher rate than baseline.
I don't think so, though, because I think that if you have that gene, that you would lack the perseverance to stick with it, or what I mean, like you wouldn't. I mean, that's something that you as a planner would want to channel those people into that sport, but I don't think they would self-select. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that they would.
Then why is there higher economic success rates in Caucasians with 2R, 3R, and 4R? I mean, that takes a significant amount of planning.
Wait, maybe we're talking about two different things. I mean, like the people the people that would be fighters would be less likely to have the warrior gene, or at least that, especially this group, because it's like mostly white guys. But because it's an athletic endeavor where you have to show up, you have to work out, you have to. In fact, if you're a fighter that can't control himself, no one's going to want to fight with you in the ring. You know what I mean? Like you end up like being like Mike Tyson.
But white people are good with dealing with their genetic predispositions in a dignified way. So yeah, I mean, I
possibly.
still would expect them to be at least a little higher than baseline.
Then you might be surprised by the results at the end of the show. But anyway,
I watched it, to be fair.
Oh, okay. And then they have this group that's bikers, and I was like, they're not even really bikers. They're people that work at a bike shop. You know, they're guys that fix bikes, and so it's like the real. Maybe if you got actual like meth bikers, you know, like bikers that are cooking meth in like some truck stop bathroom.
Yeah.
You know, shake and bake style. Like maybe those guys, it would, you know, that would pan out. But these are like professional mechanics. So I don't know. It's like they're doing everything they can to like not have a group of black people.
Not address the racial issue. Yeah.
Right. It's like,
that's why they open with that scene of black riding, because they're like, oh fuck, we're gonna have to address this somehow. Let's just lead with it and then not talk about it again.
Yeah, we'll have like B-roll of black people, but then we'll be like, really, the problem is MMA fighters, white MMA fighters, and bikers. You know, like and punk rock from the 80s. So they do that. Then they get monks. Now, monks, well, I'll explain after we get the results why I thought that actually makes sense, but we'll get into that. So they're like, oh, monks, you would think no one will have the warrior gene, right? So they go and they do the genetic test, they swab everybody, they do the test, and then the test results come in, and obviously the Mexicans have the warrior gene. And the Mexicans have the warrior gene because, like I said, it's like their whole family's a bunch of gangbangers. They're all a bunch of criminals. And they're at age, like even the way they described, like they tried to make it sound like environment. And earlier in the show, they're like, well, I still remember the first time I saw someone get shot and I was like 10 and I walked up to the dead body and was like, look, there's like a fly on him. And so I'm just like, you sound like a psycho. Like if I was a 10-year-old and I just saw someone get shot, I wouldn't be like, hey, let's go touch the body and look at the fly on its forehead. And I'd be like running home, like maybe crying because I'd be 10, you know? And, but anyway, so they're like, oh, we got the warrior gene SA? That's fucked up, man. And then again, because this is a propaganda piece, they had to be like, well, sure, okay, maybe they had the warrior gene, but what you don't know is they actually... They have a company called Little Homies Incorporated that helps little homies.
Today, Hector helps run Homeboy Industries, providing job opportunities to ex-gang members.
Oh, look at that, little homies. So literally little homies. But yeah, so they had to make it sound like, well, you know, don't judge a book by its cover. You know, just because he's got the warrior gene doesn't mean he's not helping a homeboy out when, you know, he doesn't want them to be committing crimes and shit. So I was just like, come on, you know, what the fuck is this shit? So they obviously have the, you know, that whole thing. And then the next clip is, oh, did I write it down wrong? No, let's see here. Clip. Oh, and then after they do the oh wait, I got messed up on my list here. So they got, okay, here we go. So after they talk about the how this is a real science and how, like, for example, it worked on the Mexicans, they refuse to do the obvious solution. The obvious solution is to separate from these people. And instead, they do exactly what we were talking about earlier. They try to reframe it so that this new information doesn't change the way you think about things, that you still look at the world through the liberal Jewish lens, and instead, how can we tailor our legal system to maybe rehabilitate people that have this genetic disorder? We can start looking at like a sickness or something, and it's just fucking disgusting. And it's super dystopian too, because just like in the same way, all these, like, I don't know if you've noticed this, like a lot of these true crime podcasts, it almost just seems like they're commercials now for like uploading your DNA to the cloud and having a Ring camera. Like they're like, oh, luckily with genetic genealogy, we could find out the murderer from 50 years ago. And it's the same sort of a thing. It almost seems like, well, thanks to all these nigs with the warrior gene, we're going to have to make sure we have all your DNA on file and start policing people that way.
Criminologist Kevin Beaver authored a study that found warrior gene carriers are more likely to join a gang, and once in a gang, are more likely to commit violent acts.
Yeah, no shit.
Once we identify with certainty that these genes are associated with different types of antisocial behaviors, we can begin to create different types of intervention and prevention programs.
I think we ought to just kill them all.
It's not unforeseeable to imagine the criminal justice system genotyping offenders as a way to tailor rehabilitation programs towards the individual.
Why don't you just get rid of them?
Doesn't it make sense just get rid of them?
If we don't get rid of them tomorrow, then when will we get rid of them?
We need to just get rid of them.
Yeah. It's really easy. There's a really simple solution to this.
And that's the problem, is that really is the choice. Either you get rid of them, or you're constantly changing your society to accommodate people you don't want here in the first place.
Yes, exactly.
It doesn't make any sense. It's like, if a homeless guy moved into your house, would you kick him out? Or would you be like, oh, we're going to just I'm gonna put a little drywall up here, and you can have this little room in the corner in the corner next to my daughter's room. It'll be fine.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, rather than just kick him out. How about that? Why don't you just don't have a homeless guy in your living room, and then you don't have to worry about that urine smell and or your daughter getting raped, and it's fine.
Exactly.
So they want you to come to the old conclusions. They then test, come back with the test results for the bikers. The three white guys, and they try to make the guy in the middle sound, he's real tough, not just because he has a beard, but because he was in a fight once with like guns and things. And they all tested negative for it. But surprise, surprise, the brown guy, the jungle Asian, and then one of the white guys, I guess, tested positive for it. So he's like the rare, the white whale right there in the back. They were so itching to have at least one guy test positive for it.
Yeah.
And then same thing, they come back, and not a single one of them tested positive. The fighters tested positive with the warrior gene. Which
even
again,
the black guy?
No, not even the black guy. And
you can't even see that guy. Look at that.
Yeah, he's like Wesley Snipes black. Like that guy's just basically, the lights go out and all you see is like eyes and some teeth when he smiles. But it makes sense to me, because I think that there are people that, that's hard work. It's not low impulse control. It's a controlled environment. But they have all the fighters come back negative. And then, of course, they're like, oh, I bet you thought they were all going to be positive because fighters, right? People like to fight. Just goes to prove that you can't judge a book by its cover.
It's further evidence that determining who has the warrior gene is difficult from appearances alone.
Unless they're black.
Yeah.
Then it's safe to say it's much more likely, 50 times more likely, that they have the warrior gene than if they're white. But again, this is propaganda to get you to not think about it, and so that was the message. And then to really try to nail this home, that like, you just don't know who has it, and it really doesn't matter. It's actually, if you think about it, the warrior gene's meaningless. They go to these monks who all test positive for the warrior gene, and you want to tell what were you thinking when you were you expecting that?
Well, I was thinking that there would be selection bias for people that wanted to overcome like anger and impulse issues that they were having. Like, not all people that are drawn to this lifestyle do it because they're already calm, right?
Right.
It's because they're battling all these internal demons. So I knew that there would be somebody, right? Within this given population, it's probably going to be at least 30%. So at least one of these guys. That's
exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking, like, if you're a fucking monk, you probably have anger issues or something like that, where you need, like, you're trying to go 180 degrees the other way, right? Yes. Like if you think that you have to dedicate your life to calmness, then that means you're not very calm unless, you're sitting there in a room full of fruit and incense, you know what I mean? Like dressed like a faggot. So like that was my thinking too. I was like, that makes sense, because that's the kind of person who's probably like, unless they're sitting there meditating 8 hours a day, they fly into a rage and, that kind of a thing. So all three of them tested positive for it. And then you've got this little clip here. where they talk about how it's the same geneticist guy that was saying like, oh, it doesn't define who you are. Like they have to keep hitting this nail on the head.
Just having a gene all by itself doesn't make things happen. It doesn't make people behave in a certain way, but it does influence people.
Right, which again we already talked about. It doesn't. That one gene doesn't determine anything 100%. But it's part of a bigger, larger puzzle. But then we get to the real reason why they're doing all this propaganda, and that is, of course, so that we don't become Hitler.
But how far down this road should we go as a society? And when does behavioral genetics cross the line into eugenics and sinister Nazi ideology of a master race?
That's why they did it. That's the whole point of the show.
That's the whole point, right.
The whole point of the show was don't be Hitler. If you start hearing this information about these genes and you start thinking racially, then you're Hitler. And Hitler's bad. Like that's literally what it is. And then you see what they do plan on using it for. Like you thought the Innocence Project was bad now. Well, they bring in this guy, of course he's white, and he killed his wife and I think like her lover, like I think he walked in on him and he flew into rage and killed her and whatever. But he admitted, yeah, exactly. But he admitted in trial that he did do it. And so his defense, because they had too much evidence, like his defense wasn't that he didn't do it. His defense was, no, I did it, but I had the warrior gene. And because I have the warrior gene, it was impossible for me to be guilty of first-degree murder, which would mean that it had to be premeditated. And I am incapable of premeditated murder because I have this gene that makes me fly into a rage uncontrollably. And that same fucking guy, this guy, they had that guy testify at his trial to say essentially that he had that gene that influenced his behavior so much that he couldn't have premeditated it. And so they actually downgraded his conviction from first-degree murder. It wasn't manslaughter. It wasn't that egregious, but it was something else. And so it was used as a defense to lower his sentence. And
in defense of this guy, though, the expert witness, I guess the entire defense team, there was no evidence of premeditation in this case. So like a jury absent this expert testimony should look at this case and be like, this is a manslaughter case.
Well, I don't think it was manslaughter. It was like second-degree murder or something. Isn't that when it...
Oh, it wasn't manslaughter? I thought it was manslaughter. Whatever. It wasn't a first-degree murder case anyway.
Right. No, it wasn't. But like the idea... My point is, now that this seal has been broken, now all of a sudden they're going to be like, well, we can't get rid of niggers, but what we can do is find them all innocent of murder. Because just like what you're seeing in the news right now with all the, he's not competent to stand trial, that is how they'll weaponize this. Instead of saying, well, we shouldn't have them here. If they can't control themselves, they'll say, no, we should have them here and let them murder everybody. But they're just not responsible when they do. And that's, okay. I think that's how they're going to frame it, I think, is when they have,
I guess. I'm sympathetic to this guy because it's
yeah.
You walk in and your wife's banging somebody else. It's like, I understand murder in that case. Like, I get that.
I'd probably fly into a rage and start shooting too, but I don't.
I get it. Like I read some story years ago about this woman who backed over her husband's mistress, and I remember thinking, if I were on the jury, I'd be like, this is fine. Is this woman is she a threat to society? Like she did a thing. It's isn't that big of a deal.
That's why it's so important to have a jury of your peers, though, because if you actually truly have a jury of your peers, they'd think the same thing. They'd be like, yeah.
But if it were a black guy in this exact same situation, I'd be like, oh, we should give him the death penalty.
Right. No, absolutely. Any way we can get rid of those guys, dirty or not, I don't care. I'm taking that option.
That's why we love you, Devon.
Yeah,
because you get down in the mud. It's not about all of these laws and principles with you. You know what needs to be done.
I'm not gonna moral fag. I'm just gonna be like, no, in the pit. So the very last part of it, of course, they're like, well, what about Henry Rollins, the big angry badass? Does he have it? No, he doesn't. And he was visibly disappointed. And that made sense. He acted like a kid that didn't have it, being bullied by kids that did have it. Yeah. And he just snapped like a school shooter, and which is a worrier gene response. So I think that's exactly what happened. So
this did not make me feel bad for Henry Rollins. I was like, if my kid was kicking your ass, I'd be like, well, he probably deserves it for being a little fag. And he was. And then he grew up to be the biggest fag. I don't know what it is about this guy. I've never listened to his music or anything, but I've always hated his guts. I just see his face and I'm like, oh, what is wrong with you? Maybe it's the Jewish thing. Maybe I did sense it.
Well, look at that nose. Let me go back to it. You can kind of tell with the nose. Let me zoom the nose in. Oh, you'll see here. This angle, it's kind of obvious.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think he flies under the radar.
That's kind of Joaquin Phoenix. He's got like that Joaquin Phoenix profile. If he started rubbing his hands together,
then he would.
That would seal the deal, I think.
Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix is half too.
Yeah.
He should have left the cleft palate. He would look better, I think. I've also always hated Joaquin Phoenix. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, there's some movies I think he does well in, but it's because he's playing kind of a scummy guy. Yeah. You know what I mean? When he's like the snivelly guy in Gladiator or whatever, right? Like the incest guy.
Walk the Line. He was good in that.
Wait, Walk the Line, didn't he play Johnny Cash in that?
He did, and Reese Witherspoon played June Carter, and I was like, I'm gonna hate this, and then I reluctantly loved that movie.
I don't know how I feel about a Jew playing Johnny Cash, but
well, yeah, I mean, I didn't know that at the time. I would have to rewatch it with new anti-Semitic eyes. I definitely watched that before I was J-woke.
It's funny how much stuff that ruins. When you go back to rewatch a movie, that's how my whole YouTube channel got started. Really, was I started rewatching movies from the past with my new anti-Semitic eyes, and was like, those fucking Jews!
They got me again.
I knew it.
Every once in a while, they still get me, and it really pisses me off.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess that's the story of the warrior gene that's out there, and. Like I said, it's just one ingredient. It's just one of many. And I think as the science progresses, we'll find more and more. Maybe we'll find the Jew, lying gene or something.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing about this is that if we would have just stuck to our intuition, as we aggregate more scientific literature that supports our worldview, we're still moving further and further away from the truth. Now, in the 1920s with the eugenics movement, they were so much closer to the truth as is supported by current genetic research. And that was purely based on their intuition and their understanding of human behavior. It's like they knew more than we did, although we have so much more data and information. It's very frustrating.
Well, and one thing I noticed too, especially in regards to the eugenics movement, is not just how obviously the conservatives will talk shit about eugenics as if it's the greatest evil. But I remember when I first started looking into conspiracies and stuff, that was one of the big bad guys in truther communities online was it's always the eugenicists, it was the WASP elite, the people that would say anything but Jews. The bad guys would always be these kinds of people that now I'm like, no, they had it right. They were the ones that got it. And they're the ones that are most demonized.
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally true. But it makes me want to move away from scientism, even though I'm really interested in ongoing genetic research, because it's is this going to improve society, or are they going to use it to weaponize it against the white population? I think the answer is obvious. But I still want to know all the answers. I mean, it's just fascinating.
Well, that's
have you ever analyzed your own genome?
No. I have this thing called a pedigree, so I don't have any mystery meat in my blood. It's all accounted for.
I was curious about disease expression.
Oh, not a whole lot of
like
that
that,
either.
so.
You know, there's no, at least not that there's no like, genetic illnesses, at least that I'm aware of in my family anywhere. We're all.
Nothing.
No,
We have a strong history of obsessive compulsive disorder genetically, and I wanted to know like why, and how this happened. If there's anything I can do about it, and then it did show up in my genome, which was somewhat shocking. Yeah.
No, nothing really. We're just hardy pioneer people mostly. Like no one's really been to jail. No one's been, like if anything, I was like the bad kid in my family. So and I'm not that bad. So yeah, I mean sadly, if they ever find my DNA somewhere, they'll find it because my fucking parents sent in they did like the ancestry.com or whatever, and so now I'm in the system by virtue, they'll be able to connect me through their DNA. But yeah, I don't want to send in my DNA. I don't need to know. I look like both my parents.
Yeah.
And we got the family tree going back like over 1,000 years. I'm okay with that, or not over 1,000 years, but like, almost 1,000 years.
Yeah, so. I don't know. I was just curious. Like I did it because I wanted to know if there were ways I could optimize my diet and things like that to help reduce OCD symptoms. Funny that there's basically nothing you can do about it. Cognitive behavioral therapy, and that's pretty much it. So
with diet, how would you find that out with DNA testing? How would that resolve that?
Because I wanted to know if I have like familial genetic obsessive compulsive disorder. And there are foods that you can eat that help you process estrogens differently. Like some of this is hormonal, like it really affects the women in my family. And after certain like hormonal phases, so after you get pregnant, it emerges and things like that. And so I was thinking like maybe if I reduce phytoestrogens, or if I eat like a more holistic, hormonally supportive diet, it would help reduce some of the symptoms, things like that. I was just looking for like helpful way, because if it's not genetic, then I think it needs to be treated differently. Right?
I got it. So you were trying to figure out if it was environmental in a way or versus genetic. I see. No. But it is genetic. There's no escaping it.
There is no escaping it. No, my brother and sister are fine, which kind of pisses me off, but I got it bad.
So do you sit there and like, when you close the door, you're like 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, counting OCD is actually pretty rare, things like that. But mine was centered around like real event OCD and moral scrupulosity. So like religious scrupulosity, things like that. So I became like obsessed with the moral quality of past decisions that I've made. And there was a confessional component, which was really disruptive. And then health anxiety. This horrible, horrible health anxiety, medical research just constantly. It was a nightmare.
Okay. Yeah. I can't relate. I'm whatever the opposite of OCD is, I'm that.
That is amazing. What a life to live. You're so lucky.
I think it's called just I'm chill.
You have good genetics.
I'm just chill about everything. No,
I was talking to my mom about this video before we made it in the warrior gene. She's like, "Oh, no one in our family has that." She's like, "There's no way. There's just
you don't have any warriors in your family? Like not even like one?"
No, I'm pretty sure I come from like a long line of cowards, except for the people that came to this country. But like for many generations over, it's been, except for my grandpa, he killed a bunch of people in Korea.
Yeah, I wonder, like, if founding stock would have selected for higher instances of it. That's a good question, because that is high risk.
It's a risk-taking endeavor, yeah.
But that's not the only gene though that would cause risk-taking behavior, right? Like so, right. Maybe there's another gene that is behind even more risk-taking, But for other, that it's not directly tied to violence in the moment, but rather. Planned risk taking, I'm gonna go across this ocean because I feel like that's different, right? Like taking a risk where like you're gonna cross an ocean to like some foreign land where you might get scalped is not the same thing as I'm gonna run away from this cop with a gun pointed at me, Like I feel like that's probably like a different kind of dopamine reaction.
Yeah. Although a lot of criminals left as well.
That's true. Well, maybe Australia then would have like a high instance of the warrior gene.
What an interesting study. Why don't people do these studies?
And that's the thing is, like, if we could, that's why I'm for a little, not scientism as the way people, the way that's used as a pejorative, but I think that white people do need to understand the science, or else we're just going to be at the mercy of the people who weaponize it against us.
Yeah, and it's also good for like personal lifestyle. Like there's an association with the warrior gene and caffeine metabolism, and people that like do very badly with the serotonin response to certain stimulants. So if you have the warrior gene, you want to avoid caffeine.
Oh,
if
I
you're
drink
like
it.
3R.
Then I don't have it because I drink caffeine like an ungodly amount a day.
Oh my God, I'm so bad. How many cups a day are you up to?
I'll drink at least a pot of coffee a day, or like that, or something like that, in caffeine in other forms. Like
Yeah.
I've got like either Coke Zero mixed with with coffee. That's basically my thing. I had, in fact, just recently, I had to get a bunch of decaf because I was not because like I was feeling bad, but I just felt like this can't be good for me to be drinking this much fucking caffeine. And so I got a bunch of decaf literally just the other day because I was like, I'm sleeping fine. Like, it's not like keeping me up or anything, but there's no way I should be drinking a pot of coffee and be fine with it.
I don't know, man. I think it's fine. Some people are just good. Well, okay, I'm trying to rationalize my own addiction because I wake up and I have a 4-shot espresso latte, and then I have a matcha in the afternoon every day.
Do you make that, or do you go somewhere?
I
you
make
have like
the
an
latte.
espresso machine?
I don't like making matcha. It's an involved process, so I usually get that. But I have an espresso machine, and if I don't do that, I drink cold brew, which you're supposed to mix with water. and I do not do that. I'm really addicted though. Like I don't know if I could quit caffeine.
Yeah.
And I don't want to. I don't want to quit.
Yeah, there's no reason to. Caffeine's good.
Yeah.
Plus, like it drives my Mormon family crazy. I'm sure that that I drink caffeine. It's so bad.
It's the spice of life. Like, how many things are we allowed to enjoy these days? No one's gonna take my fucking coffee. Health Twitter is pissing me off so much. I'm like, stop ruining things for me.
Well,
Let me enjoy myself.
It seems like coffee's it's like red wine. There's always like a study, like every week it's like red wine is actually good for you. And then like the next week it's like, oh, it kills you. And then like coffee's the same way. Like the one week it's like they just found out that rats live 10 times longer. And then it's like, but their balls fall off, and it's like, which one is it?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it improves my quality of life. And like, I'm a tired mom, and just right now I just need it. I need it. So.
Now I'll be able to function. But anyway, I guess that about wraps up the episode. Unless you have, you know what? We need to talk about our sponsor.
We do. We need to talk about Antelope Hill. But first, our donations have been. I know that everybody's experiencing some kind of seasonal lull, but like the last few weeks, it's been real bad. It's been rough. I'm starting to get a little worried. So don't worry, Devon's audience, but my audience needs to prove their value to Devon so that he thinks I'm more valuable. So you guys need to pay up. It would really help improve my status in this working relationship.
Oh, it's fine.
Because we report our earnings to each other, and then I'm always
it's not fine. Yes, pay us lots of money. If you're all those people out there on YouTube.
No, it's okay. I mean, everybody experiences this seasonal lull because people are going out and doing real stuff.
It's out summer. We just had Memorial Day. People are going out camping, while we slave away for the white race. You guys are all out gallivanting with your friends, I guess. My mom used to say that.
Gross families.
My mom used to say gallivanting with your friends, like that. Like, who says that? Have you ever said gallivanting in your entire life?
Yes, many, many, many times.
But
I am
it?
a woman. Yeah, of course.
Well, anyway, that's what your audience is doing. Apparently, they're gallivanters. But we'll do thank our sponsor, Antelope Hill.
Thank you, Antelope Hill. Antelope Hill Publishing is the premier American publishing house for informed and principled political dissidents. They have published essential authors like Dr. Kevin McDonald, David Irving, Carrie Bolton, Dr. Ricardo Duchesne, Josh Neal, and more. Their catalog includes original works on modern issues like the opioid crisis and the people and networks pushing transgenderism, as well as original historical sources from National Socialist Germany, Fascist Italy, Spain, Britain, Japan, Hungary, many available in English for the first time exclusively through Antelope Hill. Their catalog also includes thrilling fiction novels and beautifully illustrated and wholesome kids books. Their latest books include El Dolce Massimo, a collection of Mussolini's oldest speeches and writings from his time as a socialist organizer before he was expelled for advocating for Italian intervention in World War I, and Germany and Stalin's Crosshairs. I just interviewed Kurt, oh my God, Seidel. I'm sorry, Kurt. About this on my YouTube channel. You can check it out. History book by a former East German military officer using Red Army archives to demonstrate conclusively that the Soviet Union was planning to attack Germany first. An Imperium of Thought, collection of writings from Dutch members of the SS about the world historical importance of National Socialism and Hitler. Whatever your interest is, you're sure to find something you want at Antelope Hill Publishing. Check them out to support our friends and our sponsor. Use the code OUTLAWS for 10% off your order. Is there anybody in the world that is doing what Antelope Hill is doing?
No.
I don't think so either. I mean, talk about doing something for the white race. They're like, here's all of this banned literature. And then they have these so I've met these guys. They're super cool. And the way that it started was during COVID, they were just reading and they wanted to read all this National Socialist literature that had never been translated into English before. And so they just like found through their network of polyglot educated friends, like, can you translate this? And can you translate this? And then eventually they just had a business. Like this came out organically through their love of the white race. And I think that they're such a cool company. They've been so supportive. So if you guys can check something out, I do recommend that book, Germany and Stalin's Crosshairs, if you're into World War II history, because during that interview, he was telling me all sorts of stuff. I was like, I have never heard of any of this stuff, this perspective before. And it was fascinating. So check out that interview. And if you like it, then you can purchase that book, Code Outlaws.
All right. Promo code Outlaws. So I will tell you what, I'll give your audience more time to think about what they've done or haven't done. And I'll go through the chats over here on Rumble. Actually, I'll do a real quick check, see if Love and Division's on Odyssey. Nope, so nothing on Odyssey, because that's the only person that ever does Odyssey. Then we got Gorilla Hands.
Odyssey fall off so badly?
Well, it's because their monetization thing. They used to be really easy to monetize. Like that, people could send money, and then you could withdraw it pretty easy. And then they got banned from Stripe.
Oh,
so
right.
That killed it, because now they have some weird crypto thing, which I did manage to figure out how to get it out, but it wasn't like easy. I mean, it wasn't hard, but like it's, everything else that we do is so hard that like, every step that's added to this process, just, you know what I mean? It's another thing. So
did you give an update on Entropy? I feel like it's only fair.
Oh yeah. So no, yeah, they paid us out. So everything's good. Everything's okay. And I think we're good. I think we're square. So
Excellent.
they did come through, and I thought I said it. I might have said it on my show. So I think that we're good. And so yeah, I'm glad that worked out. I'm glad that a worst case scenario is not what unfolded. Hopefully everyone else has received what they are owed, and we'll be moving on to I still haven't set up Power Chat. It's been a busy couple of weeks for me over here, but it will be settling down as of yesterday, so I'll be able to have some time to I'll be able to work on some of these other things that I'm piling up around here.
Contacting Phoenix Ammunition?
Yes, I'll do that. I'll do that.
Oh, and before, if people drop off during super chats, I also wanted to mention that I am doing an IRL event in Manhattan. I don't know how this is possible. We've been trying for a year to get something together, and the only venue that came through was in Manhattan. So people are like, why are you doing it in Manhattan? I'm like, because that's the place I can do it. That's the only place I can do it. So I think we have like only 20 tickets left. But if you want to go, it's on July 18th. It's with Cameron McGregor and Konstantin von Hofmeister. And Adam, who is Mainstream Dissident, he's super cool if you don't know him. So check out his content. And if you want to buy a ticket, you can look at the pinned tweet on my Twitter. That's blondes_tweets. And send an RSVP to Constantine at Multipolar Press. This is all in the tweet, my pinned tweet on my Twitter, before June 18th, because we don't have many tickets left. And I don't know, this is like my first IRL real event. That's redundant. It's my first real event in life where I'm really meeting people and speaking and everything like that. And I'm excited and I'm nervous and I'm scared that like 2 people will show up. So please, if you're in that area this summer, July 18th, come out. Tickets are very reasonably priced. You guys can have a drink together, do some networking, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, there you go. And Manhattan, who doesn't want to go to Manhattan, right?
Literally everybody doesn't want to go to Manhattan. I'm getting DMs left, right, and sideways. Like, if you would have had it anywhere else, I would go to this. I'm like, come on, please. I'm sorry. I'm starting to sweat here.
All right. Well, we'll go to Gorilla Hands. Gorilla Hands says, hey, guys, have either of you heard of this goth guy on YouTube named Jake Monroe?
Have you?
I have not. I guess he is a conservative from the UK. All of a sudden, he is all over my feed on YouTube. Seems artificial to me.
Yeah. Reminds me of Ian Carroll. Like, as soon as he popped up and like went everywhere, I'm like, something's up with this guy.
Yeah, I've never heard of that guy. But my algorithm on YouTube is like ham radio videos and like murder mystery type stuff.
Yeah.
So
cold case files and then like the Duran, and that's pretty much all that comes through on my YouTube.
Yeah, mine's like how to rebuild a amplifier from 1964. So, all right, then we got
you are something else. You're a weird guy, Devon.
If you don't have something in your house that operates on tubes, you're not living. You're not living until you're playing with kilovolts.
I don't even know what that means. So,
high voltage is the only way to live. All right, we got Gorilla Hands again says, speaking of warrior genes, what do you guys think about this rioting in England? This seems to happen every summer, and it eventually cools down. How long are we going to let ourselves die out?
Yeah, we were just talking about that earlier today. Like, as much as I love to see a guy that is delightfully British, that's ginger with a handlebar mustache and a 3-piece suit, do a jerk off motion to a bunch of bobbies. Like, I watched that video like 9 times. Like, we're going to need something else here. But it's crazy just watching them hurl things at police and they just have nothing. They're literally throwing rocks at cops. I'm like, man, if we had this kind of momentum here and everybody had a gun, I think things would probably turn out differently. But like, we're going to need more of this. They need to find a way to harness this energy in a meaningful way, because like these little blips, these little controlled blips, long term, they just stop all of that energy from coalescing in a truly transformative way. And so I think this might be a net negative if it doesn't go anywhere. But it is somewhat cathartic to watch.
But I think that's almost why they allow it to happen, because it is cathartic to watch, and people watch it and they're like, oh, okay, I feel less worried about my extinction now because
something's happening.
Yeah, someone threw a rock at a cop or something. That's like, all right, well, you know. So the problem is things are going to have to escalate much further than that. Much, much further.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, my thoughts are it is a positive because it is, obviously it's a step in the right direction, but there's so much further to go.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Then we got Great Whitey, I think, spelled weird. Prediction, Chud will be railroaded. The media will report otherwise. Austin Metcalf's killer will get minimal punishment. The media will report otherwise. Chance of summer chimp out high.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Yeah.
Except for, I don't know if the white people will chimp out, you know?
Oh, I thought he meant a black chimp out.
Do you mean the other way around? No, because if Chud got railroaded, that wouldn't cause a black chimp out.
Oh yeah.
And
I see.
Yeah, so he's implying that whites will chimp out this summer. I don't think that'll happen.
We don't chimp out, you know.
And you know what? There's too many whites that are and gay Mexicans that are anti Chud anyway. You know, they won't even throw their support behind him. So it's
yeah.
There's people they can't even be like on his side, let alone go chimp out, and that's a problem. So
we, as white people, though, we need to be careful about this. Like, don't be the guy that busts into a room and murders his wife and leaves all that evidence. You need to be the guy that finds out about the affair and then poisons your wife and her lover slowly with a tiny dose of arsenic every other day for like 3 years and doesn't get caught. Be that guy.
Right.
We need to be careful. We need to plan.
Well, and actually in my book Day of the Rope, there's actually one of the characters says, our enemies they don't kill their enemies. Their enemies just die in horrible accidents. you have to think like the enemy. You have to realize that you don't go out and kill your enemies. Just like our enemies, they don't do that. That's why none of them are in jail. The Clintons didn't. They didn't kill all those people. Just everyone. They get shot in the back of the head, and they just have unfortunate accidents. And as long as your enemies have unfortunate accidents, nothing happens to you. And so that's, you just got to keep that in mind. Maybe the way to go about it is through some form of voodoo. I don't know, but whatever it is, it can't be through anything that you've done. And just, if harm befalls them in some freak accident, then so be it. All right, then we got Astralis 725 Neurotic Mexicans says, Wuda thought there would be problems, or Huda thought there'd be problems between people. Bad joke on my part. Have some shekels for support. I don't even get the joke. Huda thought there'd be problems. He spelled Huda weird. WHOODA thought there would be problems between peoples. Does that?
Yeah, he means like how do we put these black people and these white people together and expect nothing to happen?
No. I think he means something like the spelling of Huda. Somehow.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
Are we retarded?
I feel retarded right now, but thank you very much, Astralis 725 non-binary mojitos. Then we got the Supreme Rabbi Satan has a bunch of black emojis, and so there we go with that, I guess. Then we have Foreskin Bear. Is now a monthly supporter. And then we got Paulo Eagleton, says 07. Then we got Hammer Thorazine, says, quote, don't judge a book by its cover, end quote, was popularized from its use in a book written by Edwin Rolfe, a Jew whose parents came to the U.S. from Russia just after the turn of the century.
Wow, look at that.
Look at that. Yeah, it's amazing that if we had just stopped that one migration, this would be a totally different world.
I know. You should almost always judge a book by its color.
Or whether or not, you should always judge a book on whether or not their parents came to America around the turn of the century from Eastern Europe.
Yeah, really.
Then we got TMK 1335 says the info in this stream is the ultimate forbidden knowledge. Everyone in a multicultural society is naturally aware of those genetic differences in behavior. It's on the tip of our collective tongues. Well, hopefully future generations are unable to avoid this and make the proper course corrections necessary for our people's survival. TMK 1335 also says we refuse to acknowledge these blatant realities out of fear of social backlash. The answers to our problems are so close, yet so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
this is why... Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say the solution's easy. It's not a matter of figuring out what it is. It's a matter of doing it.
And this is where women can really shine in the movement, because so much of social behavior is dictated by, like, for women, by women. This is why it's important that women are openly racist within their own social spheres. We need more like racist sourdough wives. And that influences people more than you can possibly imagine. I think the men they're coming along quickly.
Yeah, we definitely need women to be wise to the Jew and the warrior gene.
Oh,
all right.
totally.
Then we got Revolver 357N2 says, sorry to be a wet blanket on the last stream. Didn't know I was the last super chat. Anyway, we had kids before knowing about HD. No regrets. There are cures being worked on with success. WAGMI, cheers.
That's the Huntington's disease.
Right.
Man, I'm sorry. I thought that his question was, would you have kids knowing that this was the thing? I would have answered differently if I knew that he already had children.
You would have lied?
Well, I mean, what are you going to do?
See, this is white politeness needs to stop.
Yeah, but what are you going to do? The kids
there's
already
nothing,
exist.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. We're obviously not saying, abandon your kids or feel bad for having them, but yeah, it's not, yeah, but it's good that they are working on treatments and on cures. And that's the other reason why we need to have white people in the sciences too, because a lot of this stuff can be resolved with science. And it's not going to be a black guy that comes up with a cure for that. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't made a lot of breakthroughs with neurodegenerative disorders. So, I mean, I'm not super hopeful about it. But I also didn't need to say that. Let's move on.
All right. Then we got Pork Chop Express says, Replay Gang, Devon, a prior stream, you mentioned Al Campanis, I read it as AI Campanis, Al Campanis, Dodgers general manager, as sports ball watching faggot. I can say his 1968 draft was the best ever. So yes, that white man was an innovative genius. What he's talking about is there was an old clip of Tom Metzger talking to some boomer Zionist on his race realism public access show, and the conservative boomer Zionist was like, well, the fact that you supported Al Campanis' racist remarks, and what it is he was a old Dodgers manager, the team, the Dodgers, and all he did was on national television said that there weren't as many. It's funny because it goes along with the stream. There weren't as many black people in the office side of things. Instead, they were all in the field because it required a different skill set and implied that they just weren't as smart as the white people that had those jobs, and they canceled him. And this was like in the 80s. So this whole canceling thing. I mean, he was out of a job literally within like 48 hours.
Oh man!
And all because he was like, "Well, look, I mean." Black people just it takes a different kind of muscle, like if you watch it, it's he doesn't even sound, he's not mean spirited about it or anything, and he sounds, because he's an older guy, like he's not even a boomer, he's like Greatest Generation, and so he's totally oblivious that he's even sounding racist, because he's just being matter of fact from like back when people got that,
right?
So. Then we got Yo Jimbo Rockford says, after 40 years in DFW, when I visit my mom before leaving, it felt like it will be the last time I see her. This whole thing has made me a wreck. Grown-ass man having to choose between parents. Hold on, is there a first part to that I missed? There is. Sorry, hold on. Things got weird. All right, the first part of that was the Pajeets doing Rumble's payment processing shit the bed Saturday on part 3 of my super chat. I'm still fighting with them to get my money back. Anyway, I moved from Dallas to rural southeast Missouri. All right, hold on. And then after 40 years in DFW, when I visit my mom before leaving, it felt like it will be the last time I see her. This whole thing has made me a wreck. Grown-ass man having to choose between parents. If any of you are contemplating divorce, figure something out, the consequences to your children are lifelong. And whoever's fault it is, the kids will figure it out and resent you for it.
Oh, sorry, man. It's rough.
That is rough. Well, hopefully, you can get you work that thing out with Rumble, but also, we're pulling for you, man. This too shall pass. I know that's kind of a cliche, but it's true.
Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that.
All right, then we have Cassandra Says with a very, very generous dono. Cassandra says, "Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Devon. Penelope Maynard here. My Twitter account was hacked, hence the radio silence.
No.
Missing you both. I was actually just talking about you the other day. Actually, today, maybe to you, wasn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she maybe we somehow we summoned you.
Yeah, if you ever want to talk, just you can find me on Telegram. I think I'm Blonde Beast on there, or you can shoot me an email, blondeinthebellyofthebeast@gmail.com. I'd love to talk to you. It's been a long time.
Yeah, welcome back. Welcome back. So we have Penelope back, who, by the way, has a branded hive out here. Although
Really?
I think your bees died though. It was a slaughter this winter, and I had a couple more die actually, or not die. There was a couple I didn't get around to it, and a couple of them swarmed out. So I'm not sure yet because they're in a bee yard. I just drove past it the other day to check on them, and there was a couple hives with not a lot of activity. So I'll be going back to investigate further. And I'll tell you what though, if the bees are dead, I have 3 swarm traps full of bees. So I'll dump one of them in there, so they'll have bees again. They'll be angry Africanized bees, but they'll be bees all the same. So, but welcome back, Penelope.
Yeah, we're glad to see you.
All right, we got Yo Jimbo. Oh wait, we did that one. Then we did Pork Chop Express says Replay Gang. Last week you mentioned Jesse Lee Peterson's allegations. Curious if you both support him saying White History Month. Also, do you have an opinion on Brother Nathaniel?
Okay, I do have an opinion. Jesse Lee Peterson has been super cool to me personally, and I don't know about the veracity of these allegations, so I can't really opine about this. And I have no idea what this White History Month thing is. He's an ally of white people. I mean, for what it's worth. Brother Nathaniel, I thought was cool, but I think that fundamentally he's still Jewish. Like he's got a Jewish spirit. And then he hopped onto a Twitter space that I was doing, I don't know, last year, and it was a really bizarre conversation that kind of made me not like him anymore. So I'm kind of off the Brother Nathaniel train, but he does stand on my corner every once in a while waving his cross, which I think is cool.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've never been a fan of either one really. So I don't know. I know that obviously who they are. You know, they've always been the periphery. But the problem, this is something I said a long time ago. A Jew in your movement will never be a Jew in your movement, but you will be the goy in his.
Exactly.
And I feel like that is almost always true.
Yeah.
So that's just something I would say and have said. All right.
And I'm saying now.
Exactly. Then we got the Shadow Band says, "Whoa, good topic. I will watch it when I'm sober." All right. And then we got Aurora Bird says, "Okay." I'm not sure what that's about. Then we got Arisen Ryan says, "I'm a fan of both of yours, but I am ashamedly here to simp for and support Blonde. Hope that helps, bud."
Thank you.
There you go.
I appreciate that.
Then we got Tomahawk says, "It blows my mind when I think about the fact that just 100 years ago, if you said whites are superior to blacks, almost everyone would agree with you. How far we have fallen in such a short time," including blacks, by the way.
Yeah.
Like most blacks would agree with that. And in fact, literally all of the peoples of the world, when whites showed up, would agree with that.
Yeah. Seriously. They would.
Yeah, not a joke. Then we have Kitten Mouse says, "Money. with a generous dono.
Thank
Appreciate that. Then we got Evergreen Dream says, speaking of 90s punks, Ian McKay of Minor Threat wrote Guilty of Being White after being around black kids in his high school. He's not based, but he caught some flack for that song, as you can imagine. Yeah, well, I'll tell you, anyone that lives in close proximity to blacks, especially when you're a kid, and you're white, you have...
you know what's up. Yeah.
You never have a good... it's not a very good time. Then we have Night Train with a generous dono who says, interested in your thoughts, if there is a God, why would he fill the world with such crap DNA?
Well, I don't know. I mean, my feeling on God is that he got the ball rolling. And I don't really know that he's got a hand in our lives. Otherwise, I can't make any sense of like the toll of human suffering. But as far as the genetic degradation is concerned, that's our fault for not practicing eugenics. So I don't know. Do we have to put that on God? That's kind of us, right?
Well, God has given us the wisdom and the knowledge necessary to prevent interacting with these genetics in any meaningful way. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't really have a clear idea as to, nor do I think humans are capable of having a clear concept of God. And so I think I view the world in a way that I guess would be similar to what you just said, where like if to the degree that there is a creator or a God, I don't think he's out there, you know, like, and then I'll get the niggers and make them do this and that'll teach the white people that. And then the special Jews will be chosen and they'll teach the world about, you know, everything. And it's, you know, I don't think that was like I don't think there's like some racial plan. And ultimately, I think that's a big impediment. Honestly, I think that's why there's so many white people who aren't racially conscious, because it creates problems if you've got a religious worldview. When you start thinking about race and genetics, it creates some cognitive dissonance there. So,
well, I mean, we're obviously meant to live in separate parts of the world.
Well, right. We're evolved to live in different parts of the world, and it's unnatural. It's just as unnatural as, you know, plucking up a penguin and dropping him on the streets of Las Vegas. You know, it's in fact, I went to it recently. I went to a zoo, or kind of a zoo, like an aquarium in a desert area, and they had penguins, and it was like in a desert. And it was indoors. It was indoors, but still, they were just standing there like they were on death row. Like they were just staring. Like they weren't. None of them. They weren't playing. They weren't swimming. They were just like in this air conditioned like concrete room with like some water in it. And it was just like I was watching. I was like, I mean, I get. I mean, I'm not against zoos because I kind of get like they're taking one for the team. Like they're getting kids excited about penguins, so when they're old, they don't want to create some big corporation that slaughters all the penguins or something like that. But you know, so I kind of get it. But like, this sucks.
It sucks for the penguins, yeah.
Right. So yeah, same thing. Look at it. It's got to suck for black people. I think black people would. I mean, they don't think they would because they know all the white inventions and things they'd be missing out on. But I feel like, I mean, have you ever seen these videos of like Africans in Africa? Like they're like the happiest. I mean, they're dumb as shit, but like they're the happiest people in the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're like, you give them a can of soda and it's like, you know, you just made their fucking year. You know, they'll write. Well, no, they don't have written language, but they'll talk about that forever. You know. So. All right, then we got Professor Chaos says, I'll check out the replay later. Here's some shekels. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Then we got Tomahawk says, Rebecca, I've spent my entire adult life trying to find a racist white girlfriend. And I mean, I have really tried. The best I can get are women who disagree with me but tolerate my views.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that when a woman really respects you, that you can work on her. And that's the key.
mold.
Like Yeah, you can mold her. You don't have to find a woman that's already there, but you have to think like, is she going to resent me, or is she going to come along on this journey because she respects me? So I don't know. I think that women in this sphere were made, we're not born. Like I would not be like this at all if it wasn't for my brother.
Any
Or
woman
Devon, actually. Yeah.
Well, any woman that you'd want to marry is a woman that you need to be able to mold her soft little mind on several topics. So you need to keep that in mind. If she doesn't respect your worldview enough to adopt it, then you're gonna have a problem.
Yeah, women aren't naturally tribalistic in the way that men are, because we're evolved to survive in the event that our tribe gets taken over by another tribe. So you need to stop thinking about women like they're men. Like our sense of loyalty is just generally not as strong. But once you can get a woman to this place, they become the biggest natural zealots.
They'll be like more based than you. I've seen it. I've seen it happen.
Dude, my friend Robin, like she lives in Canada, so she doesn't want to tweet all the stuff that she says in private conversations. But the private conversations that we have would shock people. She is like ultra, like I wish everybody knew how based she really was. So, and I think that most of my female friends are like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it happen. I've seen women who they start looking into the Jewish stuff, sometimes because of a man, and we're talking like girls that either they were politically disinterested or they're coming from a place of like pure Zionist MAGAville, and they're like, they want to like get the ovens warmed up, like as soon as possible. It's crazy how like balls to the wall they go, but.
Oh yeah, you want a woman that doesn't love Hitler because he just didn't go far enough. That's really where we want to get all the women.
Yeah, and those women do exist.
They do.
All right. All right. You're under the threshold, but I'm gonna read it anyway. This is Maximus Prime says that chimp experiment was repeated in the 1970s. Several researchers were mauled, including the woman who raised and breastfed it. Oh my God.
What?
No woman like that. Don't get a woman like that. There was a documentary on it called Project Nim, worth a stream. I'm going to have to do that. I have to look into Project Nim. That's insane. I didn't know they tried it again. It was such a failure the first time. If there's footage of her breastfeeding a monkey, we might have to cover that. So
we can do another stream. We can restream your old episode, talk about it with updates.
Yeah. All right. Then we got Beach Guys, also with a very, very generous dono, who says, since Penelope popped in, I should too. I have been MIA. Great shows, guys. Well, I appreciate that, Beach Guys.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, that's very helpful. All right, and that's it over here.
Sure. Let me go over to my YouTube, reload. I guilted you guys into throwing some money at us, and you sure did deliver. All right. Let's go down here. Outlaws. Let's see. Pride Assassin says, Devon, check out a movie called Found with the period. It gets super degenerate, but it was made on a budget of $8,000 and did very well. Good enough to fund a sequel. I don't recommend it.
You don't recommend it, or he doesn't recommend it?
Good enough to fund a sequel. I don't recommend it.
Right, the movie Found.
With the period.
All right.
You want me to keep going?
Yeah, did you need more from me?
No, I thought you were going to say something about looking it up.
No, I just wrote it down.
Oh, okay. Gen X Rebellion says, I think basic morality is genetic. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think that it's ordained that morality that is outside of genetic confines is ordained by God to keep us in line. But I think that basic morality that comes from within, I think it's genetic, and that means that it's racial. That's really what that means. Yeah. Any comments on that?
I would agree too, because like I've got, almost all my extended family is Mormon, right? But there's some, like cousins, for example, that they decide to go another way with it, and none of them turn evil. Like they just stop believing in the church, but they don't. Their life doesn't really change. Like they might as well go to church, the way they behave. And I would say that's like I was saying earlier, I don't have any extended family in prison or anything like that. And so I think that, especially if you select for that, like a very strict morality, you, after a couple generations, you're going to reap those benefits with the children that you have. So yeah, I would agree.
Semiot says, a suggestion for stream, Professor Stack, the Brooklyn Thrill Killers were a bunch of Jewish kids who deleted a black man, but also I think violated at least one woman. Comic books are all Jewish, by the way. The Brooklyn Thrill Killers. You want to drop that in the...
Brooklyn Thrill Killers. Got it.
Mike Hunt. The one piece of the puzzle that made everything make sense was someone saying there's no difference between race and culture. You could argue the semantics of that, but it was a red pill for me. Yeah, absolutely. It's such a 2016 point. Like it's culture. It's culture. And the old Breitbart thing, like politics is downstream from culture. This is all Jewish propaganda. Sweaty Betty said, Mr. Medicare, is he still alive?
I don't know.
I thought he was dying. He was terminally ill.
He's been like dying of cancer for like the entire time I've known he existed. So
wow, good for him. For he says the online right sponsored by the SPLC. Medicare made this video talking about the ACLU paying gays and Catholics to infiltrate the far right. Start at 52:15. It's about Nick Fuentes. Is this new Medicare content? Has he been making content this entire time that I just thought he was dead? Huh. I'm sorry if you're watching this. Have you heard of the Hart family murders? White lesbians murdered their adopted black kids in Portland, Oregon. It's crazy shit. Please consider covering. That story is so great. I talked about it ad nauseum on my old podcast because that story's got everything. Maybe we should talk about it. I'm sure you remember this, Devon, but these two Portland lesbians adopted 5 kids. I think 3 of them were siblings. They were all under 10 from like the Houston ghetto, but they did it so that they could get government money. And then they like starved them and beat them. And then the lesbians took some kind of really high dose of Benadryl and drove the entire, right when they were going to get caught, drove the entire family off a cliff.
Just like the kids or themselves too?
No, they killed themselves too. Like we get to knock out 5 black people and like a set
and lesbians.
I'm like, man, this story is awesome. The cliff diving lesbians. Damn. This is why I'm not an advocate for adoption. It's like these kids would have been better off in the Houston ghetto. Obviously, they'd be alive still, maybe. Palatine,
but some white people might not have been.
Yeah.
If you just said like if they grew up to be feral eggs, it might have this might have been the best, ultimately the best outcome.
It really was a feel good story of 2018 or something. Yeah, that was a good one. Paladin YYZ. The Pixie music series is top notch. Is that you, Devon? Is that you, Devon?
Rocket Pixie? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Those songs are written by me and made with the help of AI, the music part of it, and then edited. And yes, so if you enjoy those, you can support me by listening to those songs on Spotify.
Support Devon.
Add those to your Spotify. I get. I mean, it's not much, but I get a little bit of money from. I've actually, crazy enough, that song. The other fake band I have is called Pale Siren, and I'm getting commission from the plays of some of the songs from that band. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's not much. It's enough to pay for like the AI that I use and a little bit extra. So yeah. It makes money.
Hey, that's something. Sweaty Betty, relevant timestamps on, I assume, the Medicare video. about Nick Fuentes being gay. 55 minutes, 1 hour, 9 minutes, 1 hour, 15 minutes, an hour, 32 minutes, an hour, 38 minutes, and 140. Most damning evidence is at 52 minutes. Purity Sin Gaming mirrored the stream. Well, now I got to watch this. All right, I'll watch it after we get off, and then I'm going to watch all the Henry Novak videos. Nowak videos. I keep wanting to call him Novak because Cameron and I are going to be talking about this tomorrow, and the Brits seem to feel like this is a watershed moment, and I hope they're right. Don Browning, no, thank you. Present Ape, you owe me a sandwich, Blonde. That was a huge donation. Thank you so much. Hey, buddy, I will make you a sandwich anytime. I may make a mean sandwich. All the sandwiches I'm good at. I'm an excellent cook. Excellent. Vincent Pendragon. Reminder, our knowledge of genetics is subverted and not as invested. Oh, I see. So what we may know might be the tip. Also, food does affect us genetically. Eating what your ancestors had is healthy. An old cat diet study showed this. Yeah, this should just be intuitive. Like I believe in intuitive eating.
Yeah,
I also believe in intermittent fasting.
We've evolved to. Yeah, I think that's good too. We've evolved to eat a certain kind of food in the same way that plants were evolved to grow in certain kinds of soil with certain kinds of sunlight and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, if you start feeding, in fact, here's an example of that. There was that stupid vegan couple that was feeding their kitten a vegan diet, and cats need meat or they die, and so their kitten was like starving to death because it required meat. Like there's something, it's not just protein. There's stuff in meat that if cats don't have, they die, and so they were slowly killing their kitten until they finally gave up. And I don't remember if it was taken away from them or what, but someone saved the cat by letting them know of that. But it's just, that's
well, that couple a few years ago did that to their baby and it died.
The vegan baby. I remember the pictures of the baby like looking like, Skeletor.
Well, why wasn't she just breastfeeding?
Yeah.
For the love of God. Oh, we're good. Sorry.
Oh, you're good on your side?
Yeah.
All right. I'm just double check.
Wait, you have one on Odyssey, somebody said.
Oh. Let me go to Odyssey. Oh, we do have one on Odyssey. Based and Butterfly Pilled says, regarding a comment from last week asking about pro-white groups, the American Freedom Party seems solid. They appear to have good relations with Nova and have Dr. Kevin McDonald as a founding director. Also, permit me to simp for Blonde's Twin Tails based style.
I know this is the most age inappropriate hairstyle I've ever done, but I felt compelled. I don't know what.
Show him what you were gonna wear, though. Show him what you were gonna wear.
My hair before?
No, the glasses.
Oh, dude, I actually need my glasses. Devon, okay, so I'm like, before the stream, I'm like, Devon, sometimes I need my glasses, and he's like, show me your glasses, and I put them on. He goes like, you can't wear those.
Yeah, that's nah.
It's not like they're fake glasses. I actually need them. Okay. You want to hear me be an old person? You know what I really got these glasses for? For driving at night.
Do you have astigmatism?
Yeah.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, totally. But it's like the lights and the distance. I'm like, but sometimes I need them when I'm working.
Yeah, I got full on blinded by headlights. It sucks.
Yeah, everyone shut up. These frames are funny. I like them. Take off my glasses.
All right. Well, I think that's everything, guys. So
are we caught up on Rumble too?
I believe so.
Well, yes, it's been real. Do not forget to buy something on Antelope Hill. Code Outlaws. Don't forget to come to my event. It is the pinned tweet on my Twitter, blondes_tweets. Don't forget to sub to my YouTube channel. I'm Blonde in the Belly of the Beast. I also have a show with Cameron McGregor, the great Cameron McGregor, on Thursdays at noon Pacific Standard Time. It's called The Reset. We will see you tomorrow on that show. Thank you so much for joining us. Devon?
Yeah, blackpill.com will take you to the Odyssey channel. You can follow me on black_pilled on Twitter, who today took away my verified check mark, I guess, for some reason. And you can, obviously, if you're watching on Rumble, same spot on Saturday at 10 o'clock, and also on Odyssey and on BitChute. Will be the Insomnia stream, and we've got something special for Saturday set up. So
awesome.
I'll see you guys there. In the meantime, have a good rest of your week. Enjoy. I hope everyone's enjoying their summer and the good weather, and we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.